This is an emergency video addressing an absolute freefall happening right now in the crypto and mainstream stock markets. And after the euphoria of Trump taking office, the first crypto president, we've seen an absolute deflation of altcoin valuations and now getting hit with what some are calling a black swan event with the launch of DeepSeek, a new AI company out of China that has apparently been able to deliver a product on par with ChatGPT for a tiny fraction of the cost, not only to produce the product, but for ongoing operations. This is leading to utter chaos with the collapse in the NASDAQ. Companies like Nvidia are selling off. And the question right now is, what is the game plan? Is it time to abandon our altcoin bags? Is it time to run away for safety? Was I completely wrong about my thesis about Q1 being bullish for cryptocurrency and specifically alt season? We're going to talk about all that right now. And specifically, I'm going to be telling you my plan and how I'm going to be iterating on my trading style, because the last few months have certainly not gone exactly the way I wanted them. I'm not going to pretend this is exactly how I predicted it. It is not. And so what I'm going to show you today is how I'm updating my trading strategy based on the new information, and of course, helping you understand where I see the market going. We're not only going to cover coins that I'm actually selling, which is something that I haven't talked about this entire time, because I've had this I'm going to hold until 2025 alt season mentality that I haven't broken from the entire cycle. But the pace of change in this industry is dictating that I must update my strategy. And again, I'm going to be doing it transparently and ahead of time so that you guys can follow it the entire way. If you guys are excited for that, smash that like button and let's dive in. Before we jump into crypto, let's talk about what's happening with DeepSeek. DeepSeek, the first I heard about it was here on Mark Andreessen's page on his Twitter. He said DeepSeek R1 is one of the most amazing and impressive breakthroughs I've ever seen, and as open source, a profound gift to the world. Then I started looking into it. It seems like this is a crazy AI breakthrough. And then he started hearing about how this is more of an attack on the US. And Mark Andreessen says DeepSeek R1 is AI's Sputnik moment. If you remember, this was when the US started worrying about Russia's space program because there was a Russian satellite in the sky. So then I went down the rabbit hole, and apparently, yes, there is a Chinese company called DeepSeek that created a vastly more advanced large language model, or LLM. And the real interesting part is that they did it for a fraction of the compute cost, meaning that they didn't need all of these crazy Nvidia chips to make their product work as well as ChatGPT. And so everyone started thinking, oh my God, is this going to completely crumble the narrative around Nvidia? Right now, Nvidia, the hottest stock in the world over the last 2 years, and partially responsible for a huge chunk of the tech stock bubble going on right now, has a massive target painted on its back. Now that potentially, the chips that it manufactures will no longer be in high demand for AI, but instead we'll just see AI get more efficient. And the TLDR here is, so basically a bunch of giga-autist Chinese quant fund are going to cause the NASDAQ to crash, but nobody has realized it yet. This was tweeted out by Good Alexander. And I think what has people completely on edge is that this is actually a side project for a quant fund that is based in China. They weren't even focused purely on AI language model development. They just made this as a side product. And they did a few really cute things that I think are awesome tech breakthroughs. One, normal language models, you can think of that as they read in linear order, like the cat sat on the porch. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. DeepSeek actually does this thing where it has a multi-token system, as they call it, where it reads all of the words in a sentence all at once, and it sort of multi-paths the processing. It also has almost 90% or more accuracy with the language interpretation. So it's going way, way faster at actually comprehending what people are saying. So the inputs and outputs, you can think of it as like a 10 or 20 lane highway versus a 1-lane highway. The second part that they did that was really interesting is they have this thing called an expert system, where instead of having one mega brain that knows everything, they have a bunch of expert brains in each category. So instead of one person who's a doctor, lawyer, physician, fitness expert, etc., they have the fitness expert, they have the doctor, they have the lawyer, they have the philosopher, they have the mathematician, and so on. And that way it can send different operations to different brains, and there's less clogging. So they have multiple ways that they're multi-tracking compute, and it results in the same operation costing in compute resources about 10% of what it would through OpenAI. That is the big breakthrough. Now everyone's saying, why are we paying quadrillions of dollars for Nvidia chips if we can run the same processing power on cheap chips? Now, two things here. First of all, we're going to poke some holes in a few of these narratives, but I wanted to show this clip by Scale AI's founder, Alexander Wang. He's going to say something that I think is really important here.
The Chinese labs, they have more H100s than people think. And
these are the highest powered Nvidia chips that they were not supposed to have.
Yes. My understanding is that DeepSeek has about 50,000 H100s. which they can't talk about, obviously, because it is against the export controls that the United States has put in place. And I think it is true that, I think they have more chips than other people expect, but also on a go-forward basis, they are going to be limited by the chip controls and the export controls that we have in place.
So this is key because right now there's this narrative that effectively this company has shattered all expectations and built the same as our precious OpenAI super company that is all closed source, this big, Death Star of AI, and we're valuing it at 100 quadrillion, bazillion, infinite amount of dollars. And the kind of narrative here is that they built the same product with a Lego set, some shoestrings, and a jar of mayonnaise. So right now there's some export controls that are supposed to prevent that company from having the top level of Nvidia chips. But the reality is insiders like Alexander Wang, who runs a top AI company, believe they have 50,000 of these chips, if not more, but they just can't say that. So the question of, does Nvidia high-level processing play a role here? We don't know, but obviously there are people who know more than me who believe that they are just misleading the public because otherwise they'd be in violation of this international law. So are they doing this totally without top-level Nvidia chips? I don't think so, and right now, that's in question. Again, as one commentator says here, Microsoft bought nearly 500,000 chips, H100s, Meta bought 350K, Amazon almost 200K, and Google 169,000, but it's rumored that DeepSeek was trained on over 200,000 H100s, so kind of in range here. It doesn't make it seem like they're buying less chips, and effectively, this concept that NVIDIA is no longer needed, I don't think it passes the mustard. And secondly, there's this idea that making AI more efficient, the idea of making the process for using compute more efficient, was never ever predicted. That is insane to me that people never thought the language models would become more efficient at using compute power. In what world has computing not become more efficient over time? That's pretty much the entire history of computing, is using memory, using compute resources more efficiently as computers have gotten better. And with that, compute power has still grown exponentially. And so right now there's this amazing short opportunity with NVIDIA plummeting here, 17% on the day. Let's do a refresh and see if it bounced at all. Yeah, it's bouncing a little bit here. I think that this is a knee-jerk reaction by the markets. And we all know that NVIDIA has been up only, has been needing a reset in the market. And maybe this is the pin that causes total societal collapse. But I'm one to believe that this is more likely the beginning of a cool-off or a reset, but also the beginning of healthy competition between the United States and China in the most important technological race of the modern age, which is AI. Now, before we jump into the crypto stuff, because we're about to do that, smash the like button if you're excited. Let's put a bow on this, because as Mark Andreessen said, this is one of the most amazing and impressive breakthroughs that he's ever seen. And they open sourced it. So anyone can take this model and build stuff on top of it, take it internal, run it privately on their own computers, or use it to build out their own competitors. This is not a monopoly. This is effectively a new free resource for everyone in the world to build AI tech on top of it. And it is most likely going to accelerate the path to market for products in the AI space. It's already being implemented in nearly every single AI project that we've talked about. Vertical AI, Akash, AI16Z, all of these big AI platforms are already putting the model directly in, and now guess what? They have a better, cheaper product for their needs of spinning up agents or whatever it might be. Remember, the actual language model itself is getting commoditized to zero, and it's the products on top of the language model that seem to have the most amount of value capture, although not very big moats. My real takeaway is that this is going to accelerate the usefulness and the value of AI exponentially. It's going to drag down the cost a ton, and it's going to make it so that AI probably proliferates into more places faster. Again, I think the long-term trend here is still exponentially up, even if there's some significant efficiency gains along the way, which we can hope will continue to grow. I don't think we're magically not going to need processing chips anymore. We just will see that growth curve change. And I only think that this is extremely bullish for AI and specifically decentralized AI, because the only way to make money on open source is to drop a token and tokenize it. Open source has no real viable path to monetization outside of tokenization, which of course would get massive amounts of value here in the crypto space. So I believe that this is all part of a big ball of wax that is extremely bullish for AI, that is extremely bullish for compute long-term for NVIDIA, and definitely does not shake my conviction in what we're seeing here, specifically with decentralized AI. As another reason why this DeepSeek thing is not apocalyptic, check this out. A nice find by Vance Spencer. Go ahead and check out. If you aren't following Vance, he's an absolutely must follow on crypto Twitter. Campbell says here the DeepSeek answer consumed 16 times the tokens to answer 1 + 1 =. Chain of thought, COT is expensive in a different way with regards to compute. No such thing as a free lunch. Even if it's 8x as efficient in training, it's more GPUs in use. By the way, I didn't pay Microsoft a dime to get the answer. It's mine. Long NVIDIA versus Microsoft here, in my humble opinion. And as Vance says here, the more info that comes out, the more this seems like a flash crash. And I piled on here, China FUD is always a raging buy signal. And that's because if you've been in crypto long enough, every time China comes up with some big thing, it always triggers a massive opportunity. When they're banning Bitcoin, whatever they're doing, it's always the FUD from China that leads to a massive buying opportunity. Anyway, back to the video, but just yet another huge piece of information helping you understand why this isn't the end of the world. And these moments of FUD probably mark the bottom of this particular altcoin shakeout. So to wrap this up, the story of January 2025 has been seismic changes across the game board that are short-term bearish, as we've seen with the dissolution of the Trump trade, with the hopes and prayers for an immediate strategic Bitcoin reserve replaced with a long-term commitment, but not immediate buying pressure on the Bitcoin chart. And same with this DeepSeek R1 model, which has fundamentally accelerated AI, but is causing a ton of concern with specific stocks in the Magnificent Seven. Long term, these are extremely intergalactically golden age. This is what Valhalla is made of, bullish. Do with that what you will. Again, it's always the path to hell calling a bottom when the altcoins are sliding. But I can't help but feel like we're in extreme deep value territory for the altcoin market as we look into 2025, where we have structural changes that should affect this market in a tremendous way. Now, I remain very bullish, but today we mark a pivot in the type of content that I'm going to be making on this channel. And that is to say that I'm going to be changing the way I deliver to you my coin picks, my time horizon on how I manage those coin picks, and the types of coins that I discuss. I know that this community loves long-term holds. You buy high quality, lesser known coins, you ride them up, or sometimes greater known coins like Solana. You can just hold them and ride them, kind of passive mode. Well, today I'm going to be adding in a slightly different difficulty level, which is if you like to hold passive coins, we'll have those demarcated as to that's the strategy. If you want a more active strategy where you're buying and selling things more actively on the term of a few weeks to a few months, I'm going to start talking about more short-term trade opportunities with price targets that I see as good for entries and exits. These are going to be for people who are more full-time, more always paying attention to crypto and want to be more active with their portfolio in 2025. And then finally, at the end of this video, I'm going to be talking about something that I've been doing that I actually don't encourage everyone to do. This is not for everyone. This is super high skill, super fast trading stuff that I've been playing with. Actually, before we get to that end of the video, I'm going to remind you again that you should probably stop watching if you don't like that type of content. You should just turn it off because it's not for you. But with that said, let's jump in. I hope you guys enjoy this. And as always, the usual disclaimers, anything in crypto is extremely risky, can go to zero. There are absolutely no sure bets here. Even Bitcoin can go all the way to zero. We are gambling for our futures. We are gambling for our financial freedom. And I am just one guy. I certainly can't predict the future, but I do my best to bring the best content to you. All the coins that I hold in big size or consult for are publicly listed on my X profile under disclosures. I highly encourage you to check that out. That way you know my biases. And I haven't sold any meaningful tokens over the last 2 years, this entire market cycle, but that's all about to change. And let's talk about how I'm shaking up my portfolio coming in to the beginning of 2025. Okay, so here's the daily chart of Bitcoin. And for all the hullabaloo here of the range highs holding, we see that this wick came below, this 100,000 and has bounced up pretty nicely. I mean, this has been a pretty epic bounce from the bottom, coming as low as 97,000, which is a key area of interest. And it bounced up here almost $4,000, a huge bounce here, 4%, and it's well back in the range here. If it closes here above 101, 102,000, that is a great bounce. And it's showing you that the weakness is maybe a bit overblown. Maybe the emotions are a bit overblown here in crypto land. As Jelly says here, roughly 6 hours until the daily close, still looking good as it stands. Took out the lows, retested key levels, and held successfully. Ideally would like to see a close over $100,000. But if we want to know the story of crypto in 2025, it's this, which is effectively this down-only chart on ETH BTC, which has just essentially plummeted since the highs right here in November of 2021, which really marked the peak of the bull run. This beginning here, this impulse in March of 2021, actually it started in December of 20, but it kind of revisited all the way down here. And we see that at the end of March here, it just went parabolic up against Bitcoin. And it didn't really stop until the final days of the bull run, literally the final day of the bull run. And then it's been down only the entire time. When this reverses, I believe that this chart signals the true massive bat signal, everything up altcoin season. And when I say altcoin season, I mean you're going to have massive narratives pop off where all of the key coins in that narrative, whether it's gaming, whether it's AI, whether it's real world assets, whether it's L1s, you're going to see seasons where all the best coins in that narrative go bananas. You're talking about 5, 10, 20x very quickly. exponentially over the course of days, weeks, and maybe even just a month or so. Those are going to be the altcoin seasons that I'm looking forward to. But even without altcoin season, there have been pockets of massive outperformance. For example, Superverse went 30x, even though there has been no gaming season. Some meme coins have gone 1000x, 2000x, even though not all meme coins go up. In fact, the vast majority, 99%, go to zero. So understanding where the pockets of outperformance will be and having a strategy that plays into those is what we're going to be talking about today. So here are the 7 coins that I'm going to be selling and what I'm going to be buying instead. First and foremost, I'd be selling SUI. This chart went from essentially 40 cents here, about 40 cents at the lows here, all the way up to over $4, $5.50, $5.25. That is a massive, massive run since the bottom here in September or in August rather. And this chart is just rolling over pretty aggressively. And in my opinion, SUI has had its nice run. It's had its outperformance. But in reality, the community, the action on chain, the actual adoption of the chain, it's nowhere near what's going on with Solana. It's nowhere near what's going on even with Base Chain. It's nowhere near what's going on with Hyperliquid. And that's why at an FDV that hit over $50 billion and is now at $40 billion, I think you rotate SUI into a more hot, more trending L1 narrative. And that narrative to me is Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid to me is a great project. I do think that you're going to look to trade this somewhere between the $20 and $40 range. If Hyperliquid falls much under $20, again, I've been looking for it under 20. It really hasn't wanted to, but this is one of the most used apps in crypto. Unlike other L1s, Hyperliquid started with a phenomenal use case, which is their perp DEX. And this is where all the big traders trade because you can just trade on chain, no KYC, no trust issues with Bybit or the other exchanges. You can just long, short, use leverage, and the product works incredibly well. That is the kingmaker product in crypto, which has the most volume, which is leveraged perp trading. So they're owning that market right now on chain. And I think it's a good spot for them to be, especially as the market continues to grow. They should see proportionally more volume on their perp DEX. Again, here's where we get to the short term or the rotational trade mindset. If Hyperliquid goes from $20 to $40, I believe that it's time to sell, or at least start lightening your bags, as I think that $40 billion FDV is a sweet spot for valuation. And it's important to realize that there are other competitors coming to the hyped L1 space. Now for the next coin that I'll be selling, it's similar to this. We are talking about Celestia. Now Celestia has been beaten and bruised and abused, but I'll be honest, this was the hottest coin in the entire market when it came out, and I was so into it. And since then, all of the excitement around Celestia, all of the promises and the narratives around why to hold it, when to hold it, how to hold it, they've kind of faded away. There were supposed to be all of these airdrops, and it was supposed to be modular season. Now don't get me wrong, Celestia could run up, but just given the hype level, given the attention levels, and given the valuation of already being valued at nearly $5 billion in FDV, I see other chains as sucking the life out of it with much more likelihood to run up faster, further, and more near term. So I'll be selling my Celestia to raise some cash to actually bid into Bera Chain. Bera Chain hasn't launched yet, but it's one of the most hyped launches of 2025. It's getting a day one listing here on Kraken. Shout out to Vance Spencer, who actually pilled me on Bera Chain. He's a big backer of the protocol. So why Bera Chain? Well, they actually have an interesting model here. I like how their website only scrolls up because it's up only. Cute, cute, cute. Essentially all the revenues that happen on chain, whether it's MEV, whether it's staking, whether it's DEX revenue, where normally these are all pocketed out and you have to be kind of smart and go after them and chase them down yourself if you're on Solana or specifically on Ethereum. This kind of simplifies that, and everyone holding the token effectively benefits from all of those revenues that go back to the validators. And so if you're staking the token, you're effectively part of all those revenue streams as opposed to having to build all that on top of the chain. Again, there's a massive community here. It's extremely hyped. And now let's talk about the short-term mindset, the more opportunistic mindset that I'm approaching Bera Chain with. With 1 billion tokens in market, what we've seen out of Hyperliquid is essentially trading from as low as about 3 billion FDV all the way up to about 35 billion FDV is where it kind of topped out. Now, essentially what I'm looking at this is if I can get into Bera Chain under $10 here, I'm expecting that it's going to run up over $20, probably up to $30 to $40 in its first really hyped moment. That's because when launches are good, launches continue to be good. The market expects there to be some repetition. And so with the hyped launches of the day, we're talking about Monad and Bera Chain are the two big ones coming. Specifically, Bera Chain is coming very, very soon in the next few days. These are the launches that I expect will follow in that Hyperliquid footprint, which is if you can get in under $10, specifically if you can get in under $5, I'm expecting for that to be a quick trade up to that $20 to $40 range. In that $20 to $40 range, I'm expecting for there to be probably a peak, probably a plateau. And then while higher liquidity, maybe Bitcoin rips to 150, maybe 200K, we'll see those coins expand again. Right now, if no other liquidity conditions change, I'd be looking at that for a short-term top. Again, All trades are risky. There's no reason why Bera chain can't go to zero. Just firm disclosure here. And I will be selling my Celestia position in order to raise some cash for Bera chain. Now, I'm really sorry to do this, but you guys know, as big of a gaming bull as I am, I have to lighten my bags on Immutable X. Now, let me say this. I expect Immutable X to be one of the most durable and long-term successful protocols in the entire gaming space. They have over $300 million in their treasury. They have hundreds of games signed. They have one of the best shots long-term at winning the war of gaming. And I am very bullish on Immutable X as a protocol. But right now, my IMX bags that I've held for the last 4 years, since I was a seed investor, I need to allocate those in other places. Unfortunately, right now, IMX has been far too heavy and I need to reallocate those tokens somewhere else. Again, much love to the IMX fam. I'm still going to support all of the games on IMX and specifically the ecosystem as a whole. But right now, I'm going to be reallocating the majority, not the entirety of my IMX tokens. And the reality is that if you want exposure to the gaming narrative, all you need is Superverse. I'm actually collecting a lot of my gaming bags, not the ones that are vested, and I'm just coalescing them in Super because to me, Super is the boat that takes gaming and busts it through. And I'm collecting my strength and betting on myself and betting on the team that I know best and that I'm most excited for. 2025 is going to be a landmark year for the Superverse. Obviously, I'm eternally optimistic and eternally committed to Superverse, but I couldn't be more excited about the stuff coming down the pipeline there. So when it comes to some of the biggest gaming bags, I just think that Super is the easy play. Obviously, I'm super biased as I'm the co-founder of the protocol, but that's how I'm playing the gaming space in 2025. Next up, and this should not be super controversial, memes are diluted. What we saw with Trump fundamentally changed the meme landscape, and it showed just how weak so many of these memes are. Furthermore, I've been trading memes for the last year and a half. I've traded all sort and variety of memes, but the reality is that there is now 2 classes of meme, and you should not be holding anything outside of these 2 classes of meme coins. The first class is the ultra big, ultra high quality, actually cannot die. They're way too big to fail memes. And I'll tell you the ones that I'm still holding right now. But if you're outside of that super elite category of memes, I think you just end up slowly dying. And we've seen this over the last few months, that anything in that mid cap meme category gets absolutely obliterated over time because the money chasing more upside in memes just goes to the absolute bottom, the new launches. So there's 2 types of meme money. There's the long-term allocation into the blue chip memes, if you will. There's no such thing as really a blue chip meme, but the high market cap could go trying to repeat Doge Mania, those types of memes. And then there's a big graveyard until you get to the new launches where people are buying stuff at a fraction, at literally almost dust value. And that's the trenches. So as we look at the top meme category here, obviously it's blood red right now. Let me refresh it. Maybe it's a little better as we had a little bounce here. But as you can see here, anything under MOG, I'm still holding MOG. And the reason why I'm bullish on MOG is that ETH has just been so bad that I think when ETH reverses, things like MOG and Pepe will have a big reversal. I think MOG still has a place in the portfolio just because how intensely dedicated that community is. But then you get into this real no man's land where stuff is trading at tens of millions. Obviously, this is not an exhaustive list. There's a lot of memes that are not on here. But you get into this real, I can't see the narrative on holding it list, like Peanut the Squirrel. That news has come and gone. Book of Meme, I just can't see that working. Nero, like all these ones. And I'm sorry to FUD if you guys don't like this, but I would be out of these. I would be way out of these unless you're seeing any reason to quickly trade it on a piece of news or a piece of hype and then get in and out. And that's because the real money looking for more upside, which is why you'd go to a lower market cap coin and memes, is just going straight to the trenches. And we'll talk a lot about that at the end of the episode, so sit tight. But for right now, here we are reorganizing and reclassifying the portfolio at the beginning of 2025. I'm really selling any mid-cap memes below MOG. The only ones I'm keeping are Fartcoin, MOG, Pepe, Pengu, Trump, and Doge. Again, all of these could go to zero. I don't know. It's just gambling, but I do think that those have staying power. They've proven it. And again, for one reason or another, I'm still holding them. So I'll let you know if any of those change. But for right now, I'm selling everything else in memes, cleaning up my shitcoin wallet, and moving those all into either super high quality memes or deploying that money in the trenches. Next up, let's get to the AI agents. AI agents exploded, and one of the first ones was Cerebro. And as you can see here, since it peaked at 77 cents, it has been an absolute obliteration of value. I think we covered, I forgot where we covered it. We covered it, I think, around like 35 cents or something like that. It did a nice gain, and then it just completely collapsed. So we're down a bit on Cerebro. Cerebro mostly exploded as an influencer, and a lot of these chatbot influencer style projects, I think are a sell right now. And that's because AI agents, thanks to virtuals and other launching frameworks like AI16Z and virtuals, those have made it so easy to launch new agents that the space exploded kind of like pump fun. And the value of each one kind of went down, and people would much rather own the launching frameworks, the actual launch pads, than the agents themselves. And even Dasha or Waifu, which was an AI agent that I was holding, it has gotten completely obliterated here. It's not doing well. And clearly there's only really room for one or two major infra plays at the top of this. So when it comes to AI agents, I'm just all in to the infra plays, and I'm going to be DCAing, not immediately because they're still cooling off from their hype period. And I expect a bit more blood in the streets before that whole process is done. But I think we're going to see some great valuations coming in here for AI16Z as well as for virtuals. Now, virtuals was only on base. They ran up to, what was this, over $4.5 billion. And they're coming down. I would like to see it come a little further down here, but they've just ported over to Solana. So they'll be on Solana and base. So that'll be crazy because people would rather gamble on agents on Solana. But again, these are only made better by all the news around DeepSeek. All that stuff just makes the actual frameworks and launch pads way more interesting for things like virtuals, for things like AI16Z, for things like Griffane. Those core infrastructure protocols are just actually really better now that there's a better, cheaper, faster model in DeepSeek. As you can see here, here are the platforms that have already integrated DeepSeek. I'm sure it will be everyone soon, but you have AI16Z, Ask Venice. Ask Venice is the new project by Eric Voorhees here. He's been running the private AI, Venice.ai. He's one of the Bitcoin OGs. And as you can see here, it had this rocket up to about $2 billion FDV. Let me go ahead and switch to market cap here. You can see it rocketed all the way up here. Let's go to a 5-minute chart. You can see exploded all the way up here to about $2.1 billion FTV, and it's trying to kind of find a bottom here. I do think that probably around the 1 bill FTV, given all of the things behind this project, just how big of a figure Eric Voorhees is, how long he spent building out the tech, the intentionality of it, the way he airdrops some to everybody. This is an interesting project to hold long-term. So I'd be selling all my sort of lower quality agents and jumping into things like VVV, Venice token, looking for dips on virtuals and looking for dips on AI16Z and of course on Griffane. They had a great piece of news where they integrated a Shopify agent, so you can use all of Shopify through their interface. Again, they're cooking some interesting tech. Again, you have to see the DeepSeek thing makes the brain of all of these agents just way better. So it's like upgrading your engine in your car from an 8-cylinder to a V12. It's just way better. Obviously, that's a bad comparison because it's less efficient, but imagine you had a 4-cylinder engine that makes more horsepower, uses less gas. That's like what happened with DeepSeek. And so again, I do think that AI is still a massive play in the market. We need to use this kind of collapse moment to get away from some of the overhyped things and focus on getting some deep value on some high quality assets. Now we get to a part of the video that you should just look away from if you're risk averse. This is the hard part of the video. Now, the easy part are the videos like I've been putting out, top coins for 2025, which again, I might have updated some of those just now, but long-term holds, projects that I expect to do well over the next 12 months, stuff you can check in on every few days or every few weeks. You don't have to do a lot of moves in the market. You can buy at the cycle lows and sell near the cycle highs. You could do that with Solana. You could do that with a lot of the high quality tokens we talk about here on the channel. Now, what we've talked about up to this point in the video are some short-term trade opportunities. Hey, I'm looking to rotate into Hyperliquid for a move up towards that $40 range. I'm looking to buy Bera under $10 and sell between 20 and 40. I'm looking to consolidate some of my AI agent coins into the platforms that actually run AI in crypto. And I'm looking to take some of my overweight gaming coins and move them into my ultimate highest quality bag, which is of course Superverse. Again, none of this is financial advice. This is just how I see the market. And specifically, this next part is going to be very, very different. So I'm sure you've heard about this, but there's a concept called the trenches in crypto, where people are buying every new ticker that gets created on pump.fun, or effectively buying every new altcoin, every new meme coin, whatever it is, people are just trading everything. And to me, it seemed absolutely crazy to be spending money on stuff with no research, that has no market cap. You're not finding fundamentals or any kind of real momentum in it. You're just buying random tickers. But I've seen some absolutely incredible traders make life-changing amounts of money by learning to play this game. And I would liken this type of trading to a video game more than traditional investing. We talk a lot about investing. We look at market trends, we look at macro, we look at Trump, we look at interest rates, we look at all of the different pushes and pulls that could affect liquidity coming into crypto and the narratives in crypto. This is totally different. This is almost about your reaction speed, playing it like a video game, watching stuff in real time, and it is high adrenaline, high risk, and can be high reward. But the truth is, most people will lose this game. So you have to expect that before you're ever gonna make money trenching, you're gonna lose a lot because it's like a video game. You can't expect to be better than other people at the game when you first get in. And make no mistake, you're playing against other people. So if you guys don't want to see any of this, turn the video off, abandon ship right now, get out. But if you want to know about the world of trenching and some shortcuts that I've been using to get good at trenching, then this part is for you. So first and foremost, you need to get onto Photon. This is a must-have tool. It helps you buy and sell extremely quickly, and it has all the tools that you can get in and out and see all of the coins being launched. Again, as you're seeing here on the left side, you're seeing all of these are just brand new, freshly created pump funds, and you're seeing the market cap is like $6,000, $7,000. These are pretty much non-existent, where if you put in like $100 into this and it goes up to a 10 million or $50 million market cap, you're talking about making 100,000x or some crazy amount, 10,000x over your money. So you don't need to put in a lot of money here to end up seeing the rewards if it ends up going that way. Of course, 99.9% of these coins won't do that. So the question is, what will? Now, I actually had a horrible time doing this because no matter how I set up my settings on Photon, I couldn't figure out how to get into the right coins and trench really with any kind of accuracy until I started using what's called wallet tracking. I've been in these chats with my friends who are much better trenchers than I am. Specifically, shout out to the LA Vape Cabal, Frank DeGods and co. Make sure you're following Frank. Make sure you're following Thread Guy. I think they have great takes. They get a lot of negativity as well. I can't tell if it's that people are jealous of them, but I've seen them deliver some really high quality content and just very interesting ways of playing the game that made me rethink the way I play the game. And so I've been in all kinds of chats with really high quality trenchers, people who do this all day, every day. They sit in front and they click. And I found that no matter how much I'm in the chats with them, I still don't understand what to buy, when to sell. So I started doing what's called wallet tracking. And I use a platform here called Potion Wallets. And so what I do, and I'll have a link here if you want to get set up with Potion Wallets, they have a free service where you can track a few wallets, but I pay for the higher quality version. I pay for the whale version. Again, you can cancel it if you want to, but this is one of those things where you kind of need the right tools or else you're going to be left behind. And as you can see here, every few seconds, there's a few wallets here and I can see what everyone's buying. And I have a ton of wallets here of high quality trench wallets that make a lot of money on chain. And I can start seeing whenever they start buying. And for example, this is a good example. We're seeing several different traders here. Kenzo, Frank, and Cupsy are all clicking into this truth coin, this truth chain coin. So as you can see here, they're actually spending quite a bit of money here. And you might think, okay, well, let's check out what this is. And I have this set up. You can set up your settings here so that you have Photon. There's also other platforms you can use, but I have Photon and Dex Screener here. So you can click in here and say, okay, they're buying into this truth chain thing. Let me go ahead and click in, but you can see here, okay, I'm looking at the 1 second chart. These move that fast. You'll want to be on the 1 second chart. And you can see, all right, well, this thing had a nice little run up. It's ran up and now it's kind of cooled off. So the question is, was this a one and done? Most of them are, or do you think it might come back? Now, this is a simplification, but what I've been doing is I just kind of like click back and forth and I see what people are buying. And as you can see, by the time I've clicked into this, and this was only 2 minutes ago, this wallet Cupsy has bought in with 45 SOL and already started selling a ton, right? And so they're coming in and out of this. As you can see, Kenzo just got into this 2 minutes ago. And you can start to see here the patterns of not only who's buying into what, but you can start to see something that we look for called confluence, which is when you start seeing a bunch of good traders click into the same project, well, maybe there's something there. Again, anything under 1 million market cap is just straight gambling. You're straight just rolling the dice. It could just go to zero in a second. And that's why you should really be watching on the 1 second chart, because as soon as you start seeing it roll over and come down like this, you want to kind of get out. You don't want to see what happens after you start seeing it break through this structure it had. You don't want to see it come down and play this game of, are we going to come back? Because most of the stuff doesn't. But I've been doing this, right? And I've been playing this game. And the reason why I think it's worth knowing about is twofold. One, it's a way to stay busy. It's a way to actually have a ton of actions in the market where you actually feel like you have something going on and not just waiting, hoping, praying, which can feel quite powerless sometimes in crypto. Oh, we're just praying for alt season. We're waiting for it. And I kind of like being more active with everything I do. The second reason why I think that this is interesting is that from the trenches, there has been some absolutely insane projects launch. All the AI projects, whether it's AI 16Z, all of the big AI agent tech, all came and started very, very low here. And if you're being really aggressive, what you'll find is a lot of these wallets trade mostly meme coins, mostly shit coins, but they also do jump into some really high quality stuff. And chances are, if you get in the habit of trenching and you really get good at it and you start really, really small, expecting you're going to lose thousands of dollars before you start actually developing a rhythm. And that on the whole, you need to be very, very conservative with the amount of money you bet, because it's most likely going to go to zero. You can actually start finding out about stuff at the ground level. I've started finding out about stuff very early this way, and I've used it almost as a way to expand my research in the space, to expand my understanding of the bottom layer of tokens and how they're trading and where they're coming from. And so before I end this episode, I want to talk about a theory, which is a lot of people are feeling like the altcoins that they've held and believed in, like that particular investing style hasn't worked for them. And trenching has become more and more and more popular as people are hearing about quick money being made in the trenches all the time. And they are wondering, how do they make that money too? And their actual conviction in high quality fundamental altcoins has started to drain. Well, I do think that that is going to reach its maximum. I don't know whether it's happening today or whether it's happening next week or next month, but this is exactly what happened in 2021, which is a rotational market where people were jumping from altcoin to altcoin to altcoin. Well, those people got punished heavily as things like Solana, Luna, Avalanche all went hundreds of X's from the bottom. Things like Axie Infinity went over 300X from the bottom. These types of gains are not able to be reproduced if you're constantly rotating. So I use my trench money to rotate those profits into higher conviction long-term holds, because I do believe that those long-term altcoins will start to outperform dramatically, specifically as soon as ETH starts to reverse its course against Bitcoin, as soon as alts start to really get their strength. But for right now, trenching is kind of giving me something to do. It's a ton of dopamine, and I feel like it's sharpening my blade where I'm learning about things faster. I'm making decisions rapidly, and I really just feel like it's a whole new level, a whole new way to even see the game. If you guys are serious and you want to get into the trenches, I might set up a group chat, not paid or anything like that, but I just genuinely think it's a fascinating part of the ecosystem. I've been doing it myself. I find it to be fun. You definitely need a group to do it with. You don't want to do it alone because it can be very overwhelming and confusing. But wallet tracking to me really demystified the whole thing, because you can actually see the way people are jumping in and out. You can see the size of their bets. You can see the timing. You can start to see how multiple high quality traders are doing this. And it's kind of like watching people play a video game that are really good. You can start to learn their moves and actually start to imitate them. I'm certainly no expert, but I've enjoyed the journey so far. It's actually been several months now I've been trying to get good at this, but this is where it really clicked. So if you want to sign up for the wallet tracker, that link is in the description. And if you want to sign up for Photon, that link is in the description. One final thing, these are my settings on Photon, pretty much the same for quick sell and quick buy. You'll need to have these set up. I have the slippage at 11.11. You can really change that between 8 and 30% depending on how risky you are with your slippage. I have it on fast versus secure, and I have it on 0.03, 0.03. And again, you can customize the amounts that you buy and sell. That's up to you. All right, those are all the coins I'm selling and actually some ways that I'm making extra money in the market. I want to shout out NordVPN, the sponsor of today's video. Make sure to check out NordVPN for a big, fat, juicy discount. If you're new to crypto, you absolutely need a VPN, and it only costs a few dollars a month to keep yourself safer online. Make sure you're using one if you're in crypto, just to protect your identity. You don't want to be out there as a public crypto figure. It puts a target on your back. Trust me, it is not ideal, and it's so cheap and easy to protect yourself from this. So make sure to check out NordVPN and use the discount code in the link below. As always, if you want to see my long-term holds, check out this video popping up now.